Hello everybody and welcome back. So, first of all, this video is just gonna be me yapping about stuff, so put this on while you're sleeping, doing laundry, I don't know, the dishes, really anything. And 1000 subs and I'll be reviewing my search history. So, as you can tell from my chipmunk sounding voice, I am still in school, and it's basically a canon event to have a crash out kid in your class. In my case, that crash out kid's name is B. Well, that's what I'm calling her for privacy reasons. Let's get some general information out of the way. B, not gonna lie, is pretty ugly. Now, most people would say what somebody looks like doesn't matter if they're kind on the inside. And yeah, you're actually pretty right. But she isn't much prettier on the inside either. For example, she crashes out, obviously, because she's a crash out kid. She invades personal space, tackles and chokes my friends, well, used to do that. And she is a genuinely cringe person because she used to and probably still is overhyped Demon Slayer. And the cherry on top is that B thinks I'm stalking her and tells me to get away from her, even if I'm farther away from her than the social distancing limit. I think she got this impression from when I used to study her like an animal by going near her a lot. And that probably left a bad taste in my mouth, but look, I was just trying to study her because, she's an interesting person. Anyways, let's get to the crash outs. Well, that's how you know I'm not AI. My issues with B kind of started last year when she first crashed out over the dumbest thing ever, her glasses. Again, not gonna lie, her glasses actually made her less ugly. I'm not even joking, I'm actually serious. So that's actually one kind of positive thing about her. Then there was this one time where she just stood up on a chair and shouted, "My grandpa fought in World War II." Her grandpa was born when World War II was going on. He did not fight in it. The next major crash out was pretty much very hilarious. You see, last year there were two crash out kids in my class. One of them wanted the door open, and B wanted it closed. Another thing I need to mention about her is that she's afraid of the wind for absolutely no reason. My friend said she was crying on the bus because the wind was blowing too hard or something like that. One time in January, B decided to paint something on a canvas, and she hated it and thought it was terrible, which put her in a bad mood. Keep that in mind. Then a couple people bumped into her, yada yada yada. They triggered her more. Somehow got cornered by the rest of the class for some reason. I don't know. I guess I felt bad for her, or I just wanted to see what happened. So I gave her a pair of headphones that were then thrown across the room by her and almost hit my poor friend in the eye. I was very surprised by what happened, and I think we had to talk with the teacher after that whole experience, well, from what I remember. And the thing is, the teacher was asking everyone what happened at lunch, and nobody said the actual events. They were just saying, I had lunch, I talked with my friends. Until it got to B's turn, and she spilled the entire can of beans of what happened. Another bad quality of B is that she's kind of a tattletale all the time. And that has been especially prevalent this year. A few months later, I was just handing out subs because it was my weekly job application. Then B came up to me and asked to hand out the subs. Of course, my lazy all accepted, but the rest of the class was shouting at me not to let her hand out lunch. I politely said sorry, but then B proceeded to get salty for the rest of lunch, kind of angry, and then walked out of the room, which is actually quite common in B's crash outs. Some people were suspected of B telling the principal what happened. Then some kid said, "What's the principal going to do? Punish us for not letting B do a job that she was not supposed to do?" Moving on to next year, unfortunately, I was put in the same class as B, which really sucks. One of the first crash outs of the year was in French, and now is a good time to tell you that I am a Canadian, and of course, I take mandatory French classes. Anyways, we were playing this French counting game called Pamplemousse. It means grapefruit in French. Since B is, of course, really bad at French, she was supposed to get out 3 times, but the teacher was kind and let it slide. Then on the 3rd or 4th time she was supposed to get out, the teacher decided enough was enough and got her out for real this time. Another thing you should know about B is that she's a sore loser and absolutely crashed out this time. Her bangs literally covered her eyes, and she screamed like a pterodactyl. Similar things have happened in later and earlier instances, like when she crashed out over Losing Connect 4 Or when she had to spell animal in French and said she can't spell, even though animal in French is pretty much the same spelling as in English. Later that year, she joined a friend group that plays cards at the back table. I would later go on to join that friend group, but at the time of this crash out, I wasn't part of it quite yet. Anyways, since she was invading the group's personal space, I told you earlier about the choking thing. They decided to stop, including B, due to her dangerous tendencies, and then she proceeded to sit in the corner for a while, and then come back to the card table when one of the group members probably said the most oral line in this crash out, being, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to sit here anymore." Well, I think that's what she said, I don't know, but then B proceeded to absolutely lose her crap and cut her hair for the first time this year. Also, I kind of forgot to mention this. It's in the thumbnail. Well, at least, like, the vision of the thumbnail at the time that I'm recording this. But basically, I tried to, like, snail her, which is, like, flipping her hood inside out. And then she got a pair of scissors and started cutting my hair. So I was like, please stop doing that. And she stopped doing that. But then, she started cutting her own hair and throwing it at me. And eventually, like, Rhea got in trouble. And I just also had to call my parents about the snailing thing. But don't worry, I got off easy. Anyways, yes, the hair cutting actually happened multiple times this year. We'll explain that later. The next crash out is after I officially joined that card playing group. B was handing out pizza and we were dealing cards. We had already dealt the cards when she got back, and we didn't want to deal them again, so we asked her to sit out until the next round. B got really mad at that and started crying, along with my friend, because, like, she thought she was in trouble with the teacher, which is pretty reasonable. Our teacher banned us from playing cards for a week after that whole deal, so we could figure things out, and eventually B was able to leave the card group. Of course, like, between, like, the figuring thing, like, the crying incident and the figuring things out, there was another thing with, like, the library desk where we didn't let her on because we want more space from her, and that's what led to the ban, but I was too lazy to include it in the script. Also, a bunch of other events happened between, like, that and her leaving the card group. Hold up, where was I? As you can tell, B has some serious anger issues, and because of these issues, that somehow escalated into chasing people. Like, I don't know who caused it. And then she mentioned the whole anger issues thing as an excuse for chasing people. Lame excuse. Then I said that anger issues aren't an excuse for a skill issue. Whoa! Maybe that's one thing that contributed to B hating me. And a very similar situation happened because somebody blew on her, you know, like, I knew the exact reason. But instead of, like, chasing, well, actually she was chasing, but she tried to whip people with her sweater and said the F word 11 times in, like, 10 minutes. Me and my friend counted. And on top of that, cut her hair for the second time. She was banned from scissors after that. The final crash out event for this video literally happened the day of this recording. My friends and I were playing near B, where she told us to go away. We said that we could just play wherever we want, and that this is a public space, and that she realistically can't do anything against me. Then she slapped me with her yearbook, but luckily B is kind of weak, so it didn't actually hurt that much. But we told the teacher anyway, you know, it's the right thing to do when somebody literally slaps you, like, on the arm with a yearbook. And I guess she got in trouble, but I don't know, because I, like, saw her in a better mood, like, later. So that is all the stories. Well, I excluded a lot of them because I was too lazy to add them into the script. Anyways, let me know what you think about, like, what I should do, how should I deal with her, and I'll see you next time.